Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure, and what you're looking at is the back half of a 2001 Razz Scooter. It was wrecked, and according to the person we got it from, it was wrecked. They really did a pretty good job crashing it. What he did is he cut it off right there and got rid of the front half of the scooter, but he kept all the wiring and everything else. So some of you might be asking the question like, yo Harvey, what are you doing with the back half of a wrecked Razz Scooter? Don't you have anything better to do with yourself? My son had a Razz Scooter when he was a kid, and for me, like the CT70s and the ATC 200S, this is his gig. If anybody's familiar with the 50cc Yamaha Razz Scooter 2001 vintage, it's very, very, very hard to get parts for. Just about impossible. And he ran it without an air cleaner, so it ran lean, it ran hot, and he toasted not only the piston, he toasted the cylinder wall, and he toasted the crank. So his is quite dead. So right now his scooter is with Kevin Bergeron, and I'm hoping that I could get this motor up to him and he could put the two halves together and tune it up properly. Kevin Bergeron is a real expert on the two-cycle engines, the two-strokers, and he tunes them up in such a way that they'll live their full life, right? If you run a two-stroke too lean, it runs hot, and they die. This way he could check it out, make sure the seals are good. I mean, this is a 2002 vintage, right? It's 20 years old now. So anyway, that's what I want to do with it. But what I'm hoping to do on camera is show you guys that I can actually start this thing up and let you hear it run. Okay, let's see what this thing wants to do. Now, I've watched him start it, and he took the wire harness here, and he turned that to run, which is a good thing to do. Horn and lights. Yeah, I think he just turned that to run, right? And he gave it a kick, and start it right up. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Of course, while hanging on to it with one hand. Wow. Even tried to move. Wow. It really did start up that easy. This was a Facebook deal. So this was a Facebook deal. The guy who sold it to us, it was a $180 Facebook deal. But the guy who sold it to us reminded me of, remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High when the Volkswagen bus pulled up and Spicoli fell out of it and with a puff of smoke. He reminded me of Spicoli at that moment. He was very thin and he looked toasted. So the story he told was it belonged to a friend of his, and he bought it wrecked a long time ago, and I guess he was keeping it in his grandfather's garage. And his grandfather was getting on his cage that it was taking too much space. And why are you keeping that wrecked thing? And, you know, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. So he cut it in half and kind of buried it in there so it would take up less space. And it sat for a while longer. And I guess his grandfather rediscovered it and like, yo, I thought I told you to get rid of that piece of junk. And it was time for it to go. Well, even though he might have been Spicoli, he was not a dumb person, because he was well aware of its value. We had to travel all the way out to Darby, Connecticut to go get this thing, which is a little over 100 miles from me. Had to go through Danbury and the whole bit up 84. So it was a good ride, but it was worthwhile. I'm thinking for $180 we scored really, really well. For any of you guys who actually rebuild these things and start getting into the motor, if you could get the parts, not that each individual part is all that expensive, but by the time you get this gasket, this O-ring, the carburetor rebuild kit, if that's the way you decide to go, right? Electronics, everything else, you can find yourself putting quite a bit of change into it. And especially if you're trying to bring back a non-running bike, you can put a lot of change into it and discover that you got junk, right? That it's never going to start and run. So hopefully, once again, I'll get this up to Kevin Bergeron. He'll put the pieces together, and my son will get back, magically, the scooter of his youth. The CT70, so to speak, of his youth. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. It was a cool adventure last night. You know, kind of father-son stuff, eh? Anyway, I need you all to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and I want you to all to get out and enjoy each and every day. Go hang out with family if you get along and have some fun. Bye now.